Okay. Good morning, Rushin. Welcome to our planning meeting today. As you know, I came in and observed the students. I did a student voice with them, and I did a lucid assessment with them to see actually in depth if there are something's happening. Now, the two students that I didn't do the lucid with, I will do that in retrospect because I look at the other three and their data, and we go with kind of majority. But you will actually see when we look at the lucids, they have the same challenges, to be honest.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And we're going to work on their strengths, which is actually more visual. But I will get to that when we get to it. So basically that's what we did, and then with that I made sense out of all the data that I've collected as well as the school data that was shared with me. One thing that all have in common is the visual verbal sequential memory. So if they see things visually, the chances of them remembering and doing it is much better than just hearing it.
Yeah.
So you actually basically on that point need to, every instruction should go with something visual.
Visual, yeah.
So that's what, especially with that group. There might be some of the others that's slightly, but they learn to copy and see what others are doing and follow. So we just need to see with that. Okay. There's students and strengths and interests. It's basically, they all have different things, and that's, as I say, it's some of them is sport, it's a big thing. Reading, they love reading, but as I say, the output is not there. They do struggle with it. From themselves, they love writing and reading. They have the can-do attitude, which is great. And those that don't have it in the group, we know what we're going to do because we already know we have some kids with emotional challenges as well. And we will work on that as well. These 5 students are well behind in the curriculum areas, as we know, and they display a lack of engagement and concentration, struggles to work independently, and avoids doing classwork. They also have difficulty retaining information and need a lot of repetition. They are easily distracted, and I saw with the distraction, even the one-on-one, when I do the assessment, you can see that. And we will look at the strategies for that. Now, we need to look at some goals that we can set, and we know it's all curriculum areas. We're going to keep that in mind, but once again, even with word science, if we can't read,
then you obviously can't apply it in writing. Yeah.
So I think if we look, if you agree with me, if we keep reading as one of the
Goals.
the big goals.
No, I agree with you.
And I'm going to click on that one. Okay. Learning achievements, so reading. Okay. So what do we want to achieve?
With all of the students?
Think about our group. Think about the most, look, usually it's best to think at the most severe challenge.
Yeah.
So what would we like to achieve with that student? And then we can think about the group around the student.
I think for them to be able to apply what we're learning
Okay.
into their own work,
Yep.
and also being able to retain what they're learning
Okay.
would be a big one. But that might be
And retain. Yep.
another thing.
Yep. No worries. So currently what is happening now for those kids? We know.
Currently they're just doing lots of repetition.
Yeah.
So doing lots of decoding.
Yep.
Some of them have actually improved a lot,
Yep.
which is good. And for them, it would just be working on their understanding and their comprehension.
Yep.
But I think lots of repetition is what I'm currently doing with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just saying, what could you do is the repetition, which is great. You already answered that one for me. And okay, that is part of what will they do. You will give them lots of repetition, depends, and the others you will extend and give them comprehension activities as well, because you said you want them to comprehend what they read as well. Good. How and when will you do it? It will happen during every
reading time, yeah.
And I've seen the way that you actually really zoom in with that group as well, which is great. Do you have a teacher aid in here at all?
We do. She comes in just after morning tea time.
Yeah.
Morning tea to lunchtime. But she was just assigned 4 more to write
Yeah.
for health
Yeah.
reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what we can do as well is look at in your planning
Yeah.
to basically in your planning plan for the TA to support even for the health reason. That's actually a good way then, because that child doesn't need the one-on-one.
Yes.
For the health, she will accompany and do whatever. And if he's
Just support him.
yeah, is epilepsy with the student or not? Not.
He did have
Yeah.
one episode.
Yeah. So for that reason,
Yeah.
no worries. I've got a bit of background. That's why I know about
Yeah.
the student.
Because Desiree's forwarded me as well.
So what? Okay, great. So I mean, that teacher I can still keep an eye, and I mean both, and I'm sure you are now have eyes at the back of your head with him anyway, because you don't know if another episode is going to come on or when or what or whatever. So it's almost like a guess. Good. So what we can do is, if you're planning for that teacher aide to actually work with the others while you zoom in with our group.
Yeah.
And what I will do from my side is I will come and do the modeling, and we're going to work together, because I think I've put time aside tomorrow to come in and work with that group, that we can get a part of that going. So I planned them, but it's all on your needs, what will work for you. So it's not my way, it's your way.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and how will you maintain it? We're not going to stress about that now. That's a question that I will ask you later.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Now, first of all, we need to look at a SMART goal for reading. So, it must be sustainable. Okay, and specific, very specific. Okay. And must be manageable, okay, or measurable as well. You know, you must be able to measure at the end to see, okay, listen. So what we need to think about is, think about your worst student and their reading ability. If you have to give them a book with a code, what level are they supposed to read at?
Yeah.
This child is 2 or 3 levels maybe down.
Yeah.
So what would you like that child to do within, let's look at a time, we put a time to that as well, because that's the T part of the SMART goal. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the students to read, would you like them to, because they can't manage that first level book yet, so for them to read that book to move on to level 2, is that or do you want to break it down smaller? What goal do you think?
I think for them to be able to decode some words,
To decode
and then just
words?
keep practicing it, being able to keep applying it.
To decode the words in their level 1 reader, level 2?
Their stage 3.
Stage 3 reader. Okay. Let's think about next term. Let's think about what week in next term we would like to.
I reckon it's probably achievable by week 4.
4 of term 3. Good.
To just keep practicing it.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So, actions for that. First of all, once again, you can't be with them all the time, you know, and we want to extend them to work even in writing, because how can we expect them to write if they can't decode and they can't actually write the words because of decoding. They can't sound out the words, they don't know. So how do we expect them to write if they can't even do that? So the actions for that, what I suggest is, if you can't work with them and there's no teacher aide in the room, how can you
Support them better. Oh, sometimes I just buddy them up with other kids that they like to work with that at a different level.
Yeah.
So that they can just support them with writing a simple sentence or writing down a word.
Yeah. Okay, another way that we can do it is by the use
Technology.
of perfect. Perfect. Okay, so with the technology part, what I can do, I can support you there with digital resources. I can even go as far as taking a stage 3 book, looking at those words, doing little video clips, and put it in a folder in Google Docs, and they can get that independently, and they can work through that, like reinforcement. So if they're not with you, that's a go-to to reinforce what was done.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put their video clips and digital resources. Okay, what else at the moment do you with Year Builder, how do you incorporate Year Builder in your reading?
Currently, it's not consistent,
Okay.
but it's sometimes during our reading time they'll log on, but hasn't really been taking off as well.
Okay, no worries. So what we can do is we can then look at putting Year Builder with your timetable. We specifically put it as a follow-up after reading.
Yeah.
But also you have a limited number of iPads in your hand.
I
right?
do,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and it's also to rotate your groups around that. So our students might not have it all the time, so we might need to look at, I will look and see if there are any devices available. And it will be Chromebooks if I bring in something from RTLB. So I'll just check and see possibility of Chromebooks from RTLB. And if that is possible, if I bring that in, then they have a go-to all the time, which will be good.
Yeah, that would be
Then
nice.
we don't have to worry. So I will just check and see on that one what I can do. Okay, so I'm going to put the RTLB. And I will just grab off a book from you when I leave today.
Of course, yeah.
And that will happen ASAP. I'm just going to put ASAP and I will put in a date. No, look at that. Up. By the way, when did you leave South Africa? How old
Oh
are you?
goodness, I came here when I just turned 4, so
Well,
3.
okay, you don't remember
Three.
that.
I don't remember a thing, no.
See, that was
That is okay, we can pick it up. Malia. Alright, room 16, can I get you to start tidying up what you've been playing with?
Okay. Now, with the next one, we're going to focus on the writing part of it as well, because we have Google Read and Write in the school. And I think if we can utilize this a bit more, and that's where I come in again with the iPads, and I can show you when I come in tomorrow, and we can work on that as well. So, a SMART goal for writing. At the moment, we know that
Thinking of their own ideas, I would say. I wouldn't even go as far as like encoding it on their page. I think for them it's starting with that. Yeah.
Great. Now, with our students, when I did the lucid assessment, and once again, I'm not here to diagnose or whatever, but there's a lot of dyslexic tendencies. And what I find with my experience as an RTLB and even as a classroom teacher over the 34 years, it's ancient, that I was in a room, those kids that can't decode, those kids, if a vowel doesn't make sense to them, that an a becomes an o, and they guess, they honestly guess the vowels. Every word has a vowel in it. So they guess that, and sometimes it changes the meaning of the word. So the chances of them comprehending what they read, even at later stage. And we know that dyslexia is something that can't go away. It will be with them forever. So what I've seen in the past, one day they will get a word and the next day they don't have it. And also towards the end of the day when they're tired, there's nothing. So it's just one of those things where we can look at maybe whole words. How are you today? How are you today?
Oh, this? With the phone.
Good. to look at whole words, because what happens with our kids with dyslexia, every word and everything they write down is misspelled most of the time, because they leave out the vowels, because it doesn't make sense. They don't know whether the or the whatever. They start writing without those vowels, and if they put a vowel in it, the letters are mixed up, the order of the letters are mixed up. So they do struggle with that. So what is instilled in them? All the incorrect spelling, because that's what they do all the time. So what we can do with them is we can go the talk and type way, and we know even some of these kids, when they copy whatever they've done, they copy incorrectly anyway, because from up there to down here,
You're
it's
right.
already.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Yeah.
So most of the time what we can do is, if you still want them to write, and I know they're at the age where you still want them to write physically, we can get them to talk and type their things. They can share with you, you can print it off, they can put it down, and then it's from there to there, where the chances, where it's same level, it's better for them not making that much of a mistake than from copying up there to here.
Yeah.
But also chunk, we're going to give them little bits. Even if it's just one sentence or two sentences to start off with. And later on they can come and do their whole idea and talk their hearts out, talk and type their hearts out, and bring these stories to you. Because they all have the stories, but it's the way that we get it out.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so we're going to look at that. We can also look at, because nowhere does it say that a story is only something that is print. Okay? A novel can be a video, because how do we actually nowadays, I mean, I go to the movies, I want to see a lovely soppy story. Because I'm not a big reader myself, you know, so that's one way of me. Seeing the stories is by going to the movies. They can actually in a video tell their story. You know, that's another way that they can get their story across. And from there, if they record it, or talk and type, put that next to it, it types everything for them, and they can see the print and see where it comes from. Because, for our kids with dyslexia tendencies, it's much harder. For the students to be able to, so we're going to go more digital, do you think? Because, as I say, with print it's not working, but we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to go
I think it's to like record your ideas.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's like helping them to remember their sentence or the ideas. So I'm just going to quickly put like a Go Noodle on or something, because they're going to